And they did it. They actually did it. I'm Dan along with Keegan and Kyle, and Keegan was there to see the Blue Jays do it in the only way that Blue Jays know how, last minute and then a blowout. Walk us through the afternoon in Toronto.
Big day, Dan. And benefiting them was the fact the Rays rolled out like a double A team. I think the moment I saw the lineups, it was pretty clear where this day was going to go. When the Rays scored that first run, you're nervous for a minute, but 13-4 was about where that score should have ended up. I think the Rays were coasting into the offseason as they should be. I'd be doing the same. But one hell of a day in Toronto. The crowd was the best crowd I've seen there in years. And the performance, man, Alejandro Kirk, that grand slam he had, like, we will someday be talking about Alejandro Kirk up with Russ Martin if he plays long enough to get up to Ernie Witt and some of his numbers as one of the best catchers in this organization's history, just because he will be around for a decade. And we're going to be showing that grand slam. That's a career highlight for him now. And the win, the celebration, the relief, because these players and these coaches are aware that they did some backing in over the past week or so. But man, quite the nightclub setup they had there too. I felt like I was on King West about 10 years ago. It was an interesting scene. They did not do the clubhouse celebration, which I certainly prefer and I think is more baseball-y, but they built a nightclub and tore it up. It was interesting, is the word I'll use.
Keegan, for all the aforementioned reasons, I do hope our viewers understand how it's miraculous that you're here with us this morning, even discussing this. But back to the Kirk Grand Slam. You said for it's a career highlight for him. For Jays fans, that's going to basically be right up there with the Batista home run, the Encarnacion home run, those big home runs in Jays history that all had their own circumstances surrounding it. But there's so much sigh of relief because it was early in the game and because the bats had gone so cold for so long. And then the grand slam, the mother of all baseball hits, just it's almost like the party started there. They made us put the brakes on the party and then they brought it back.
They did. Everybody realized where it was going at that point. And it matters that it's Alejandro Kirk as well, because everybody loves the guy. His teammates, his coaches, but fans just love Alejandro Kirk. And to come up in a moment like that with a hit like that, it just captures the Blue Jays so well, because this has been the season built on everybody but the Stars. And at some points, that's just been a fancy way of saying the Stars aren't doing enough. But the Blue Jays, their great strength has been everyone chipping in. And Alejandro Kirk is such a great representation of that, guys. When you go back to when he was signed in 2016, which was the last time this team was relevant in the postseason, the last time they won a playoff game 10 years ago, they signed Alejandro Kirk for 30 grand, which in baseball is like $2. It's nothing. They scouted him at a game in Mexico when they were looking at someone else. But there was this Alejandro Kirk kid they could not look away from. They signed him. People in player development and the front office had to spend 5 years telling coaches, listen, I know what you're going to think when you see him, when you look at him. Trust me, let him play for you. You'll see what type of ball player he is. People have had to explain Alejandro Kirk forever. And now the rest of the league, I think, is seeing what type of player he is. In Toronto, we've known it for a while. But if you are a fan in New York or LA or Seattle, wherever you are, you're going to look at Alejandro Kirk and say, what's going on here? Like, this guy can't possibly be doing what he's doing. The rest of baseball will realize pretty quickly that he is a special baseball player. Like, he is as natural a ball player as you're going to find on this team. And I love that it was him, because he doesn't get as many big moments or as much notoriety as he should league wide. But man, even he smiled rounding the bases. How about that? I've covered every day of this guy's career. I've never seen him emote or show any sort of feeling. So that was a strange one.
Nothing but chills when he hit that. And this is the only negative I will say about the entire afternoon was that there was no curtain call for the grand slam, and Jays fans had to be coaxed into giving him a curtain call for the second. I'm like, people, as soon as I saw he entered the dugout and they sat down, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's my only criticism of the day.
I like it. Just after they gave Gosman the standing O coming off, which I know some people were cranky about. It's we're still feeling out the big moments here in Toronto. Maybe
That's right.
we're still getting practice with the big moments.
By the way,
Yeah.
Alejandro Kirk, last I saw, I think he's ranked the second best pitch framer in the majors. So
He
put
is.
that on his
Yeah.
resume too.
Framing and pitch
Mhm.
blocking, because I mean he's already built an inch off the ground, so he's going to block everything. But he's just so smooth, man. Like he could
Yeah.
win the lottery, or you could tell him that his house just burned down, and his reaction would be like, "Oh," like that's as much as you get out of him. He's so steady. I'm fascinated by him. You know, like
Mhm.
it's not my job to cheer for players or teams to succeed. Like I just like being around interesting people, and Kirk fascinates me. Like earlier this year, I wrote a longer story on Kirk, and the entire idea of it was that I've covered him for 6 or 7 years, and I didn't know anything about him. And every player I talked to was kind of like, "Oh, me too. I don't really know anything about this guy that I sit next to and get changed next to every single day." He is an enigma, man. I love covering Alejandro Kirk.
Well, let's talk about something you touched on earlier, something Dan and I discussed on the show last week. The concept of backing into the playoffs because they did. They faltered down the stretch a little bit. Gossman had a couple of rough starts in a row to end the season when he's been such a rock all season long. But how much of that is real? Because now that they have this gap in time, well, the bats woke up again yesterday. Is it bad to have this almost week off now that the bats have woken up? Or is it better to get everyone rested? Maybe Bichette will be ready by the time that round that they're actually starting their playoffs in begins. What is the consensus on this concept of backing into the playoffs?
I think the buy is a good thing at this point. If they were playing really great baseball, if the Blue Jays had just won 10 games in a row to surge into the playoffs, I'd be saying this buy sucks. Like, you want to play tomorrow, you want to keep playing your best baseball. But at this point, I think they need to reset. And if they can get Bo Bichette back, I think that changes a lot in this lineup.
Mhm.
He is just as important as Vladdy. Even if the numbers and the war and everything else might not show it every year, we've seen these past 2 weeks what this lineup looks like without Bo, and it's not pretty. He's so crucial and such an important piece of that clubhouse and that team as well. So they need that. But you want to be playing your best baseball at the right time. And yes, I know that it's adding up 162 and that these things are outliers, but guys, in May and June, sure, I have a little bit of time for the, here's 12 charts and here's why I'm going to explain that this is not bad. In September, get out of here. I mean, all that matters is what you're doing on an exact day. I don't care what your expected blah, blah, blah is. You're going to end up expected to go home if you don't do it on that day. There's no
Yeah.
room for what should have or what could have been. The Blue Jays need to do it right now. And this lineup, for how much it's struggled, that has to turn around immediately. This is not the time where John Schneider can say, listen, it'll come around. Vladdy's one swing away. Vladdy needs to be part of this. My goodness. But there's just not time for that now. And that goes for every team. It's not a doom and gloom thing just for the Blue Jays, but the season long stuff disappears really quickly. And this is, I like it when people call it a tournament because it is. If you have a bad couple of days, your season is screwed. But if you get hot at the right time, that's where the magic is.
You know who likes the buy the most? Newfoundlanders. Yes, buy. That's my one Canadian joke for the day.
There we go.
Do we have an update on Bichette?
Not a big one. We spoke to him yesterday after the celebration, and it was it was interesting because Bo was always very stoic and very straightforward, and that's completely okay. His job is not to be an entertainer for media, but 10 feet to our left is this makeshift hallway nightclub and smoke and disco lights and a disco ball. And then there's Bo giving us his very stern, serious one line answers. And he was all business even in the middle of that. And he said he is feeling better every day, that he's going to do everything possible to get back. And I very much believe that he is. But nothing matters until we hear that he's running. So every day for the last week, it's been listen, Bo's getting better. He's throwing, he's hitting. Nothing's better until he's running. That's the one update that's going to matter here. Because at this point, I don't know if Bo is coming back as a shortstop, maybe likelier as a DH. But the moment he can start to run and do it, not even pain free, guys, just in a way where he's not going to blow his knee further. I think
Mhm.
Bo will play through pain, absolutely. He's desperate to get back. But we need to hear the update from John Schneider that he's running. That's the thing everyone should be listening for.
What does the lineup look like if Bo Bichette is the DH?
Ooh, you would have to bump, of course, George Springer out to right field. And the tricky
Mhm.
one for me, guys, in that scenario is are you going to do George Springer in right, Anthony Santander in left? As a team that's been pretty obsessed with defense for a while, I know they've kicked away some defense this year to get more offense, and that's been smart. That's been a very good thing the Blue Jays have done. But how much can you do that? We'll see. Or would you prefer to have Santander on the bench for a mid-game replacement, a big at bat where you need some power? That's the big decision. Where does Santander go when Bichette needs to be the DH potentially? You're very happy with Jimenez at shortstop. He will make the best plays you'll see all postseason. Ernie probably at second base, but Santander's the guy tied to Bo Bichette, and he's the one where do you take that risk defensively because it is a risk, or do you chase offense?
And we've been waiting for the Santander that we were told was coming to the Blue Jays. We've been waiting all season. Then the injury hit. Then he came back. And you said every game is crucial. How long do you wait for Santander's bat to wake up?
It's been close, guys, and if that grand slam down the right field line had been
Oh,
2
he
feet to the
launched
left,
that thing.
he did.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, 2 feet the other way, it's 4 feet foul, so I don't know, but
Yeah.
we've seen him make hard contact, and that's a start. And John Schneider said, and I agree with him on this, you don't need to see him go 6 for 15 when he comes back and hit 2 home runs. You just need to make sure that he looks normal and not completely overmatched. So this is one where the Blue Jays really need to go by feel, honestly. They don't have much data to work with here. They've got to go by feel and what they think will work for this lineup. I think that Santander makes sense on the playoff roster in some way. Is he going to be playing in every single game? I don't think so. But I could see him being on the postseason roster, guys, and targeting certain pitching matchups. Maybe that means against a righty where you really think he can make some strong contact as a left handed hitter. But this is probably John Schneider's number one job right now, trying to figure out how to handle Santander.
Keegan, let's turn our attention very briefly to the team that the Blue Jays will end up facing, either the Yankees or the Red Sox. You've got a Yankees team who got very hot down the stretch, and they were able to actually rely on their big bats. Aaron Judge is probably going to win the AL MVP. There's only one other person in that conversation, of course, Big Dumper. But Aaron Judge is also notorious for not having the best playoff performances. And so it's like we've got the battling superstars right here where Vladdy did not finish the season very well. Aaron Judge finished it extremely well. But we need both these guys to show up. And only one of them really has a reputation for disappearing. In the Sox, they've been kind of a mix for most of the season.
This is an interesting one. And if you're the Blue Jays, I think the Yankees are a bit scarier at this
Mhm.
point because they are playing better baseball right now. Over the course of the year, the Yankees and Red Sox, it's a toss up. They're two good teams. I don't think either are a truly great team. The AL is a little weaker than the NL this year, guys. I think when I look at the bracket, but the Yankees are a team with a higher ceiling, is the way that I put it. The Red Sox are kind of good all the time. The Yankees can look terrible, but man, they can blow your doors off if they get hot on the right day. Aaron Judge is the best player in the sport, period, I think. And Giancarlo Stanton, guys, even though he runs the bases like he's 50 at this point, he's scary in the postseason. I covered their World Series run
Yeah.
last year through that ALCS in Cleveland. And it was one of the coolest things I watched in baseball because he was going up every at bat thinking, I'm either going to get a home run or nothing. And more often than not, he was doing it. And Stanton has that extra gear in the postseason. Max Fried leading that pitching staff. It's an okay staff as well. But the Bombers, man, it's that home run power. If they get one hot game, they can flip a series in a way that I don't think the Red Sox can. That's the team I would fear.
Yeah, they've got the Judge factor, and that is a looming
Mm.
at bat every single time because you have to decide: do we walk him or do we pitch to him? And one guy I want to know if he will be pitching to them if the Jays do face the Yankees is Max Scherzer. Will we see him in the postseason?
Ooh, that's the big question behind Bo Bichette right now. Question number two, probably, because Chris Bassett, guys, I think will be back for the ALDS. He had a cranky lower back, nothing big. I think he'll be back. So right now, it probably goes Gosman, Bieber, Trey Savage, games 1, 2, and 3. If you need a game 4, there are not really enough off days built in there to bring Gosman back around. So you've got to make a decision for game 4, Chris Bassett or Max Scherzer. And Max Scherzer has not been good down the stretch. 9 ERA in September. Home runs have been a problem. The first inning has been a problem. I don't think you want to screw around with putting an opener in front of him right now. I would lean Bassett, guys. I really would. And maybe you can have Max Scherzer ready in the bullpen or cranked up for that role. But it sounds like John Schneider wants to keep Scherzer as a starter if he pitches. But we've seen down the stretch that it hasn't been pretty. And I know he's Max Scherzer. He's a Hall of Famer. I respect everything he's done in his career. But it's what you've done for them lately. And lately, Max Scherzer has been struggling.
Is there a potential? We actually discussed this a month or two ago on the show. Is there a potential for Scherzer to be the guy? You end up playing the Yankees. Let's say you're in a homer happy Yankee Stadium. They go up 7 or 8 nothing very early. They get to your starter. Is he not the guy that could come in and simply eat a bunch of innings in that scenario so that the bullpen does not get worn out?
Yeah, I still think there's value in someone like that, whether it's Scherzer pitching in that role, Eric Lauer, I think has looked
Yeah.
really good out of the bullpen. And Lauer, man, I cannot say enough good things about Eric Lauer. He is, when you talk about MVP and you really focus on the word valuable, I think Lauer is legitimately in that conversation for the Blue Jays. Without Eric Lauer, they don't win the division at all. Because without Eric Lauer, they would have churned through 10 different starting pitchers, none of whom would have been good enough. It would have killed the bullpen. Like he really, really saved them this year. And I think he deserves a spot on that postseason roster. So he could be that. John Schneider has said he doesn't really see the need of a true long man, like another extra starter. But I also don't want to be the guy that tells Chris Bassett or Max Scherzer they're not on an ALDS roster. It's been a season with a few awkward conversations like Jose Barrios, but this one would be tougher than any, especially if it's Max Scherzer that you're bumping.
Tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but I envision the week ahead for you, Savage, is he's going to be looking at tape and being on the bump with his coaches because the magic, the mystery of you, Savage, has worn off as we saw in his last start. His over the top delivery. They've seen tape. Are they trying to figure out, okay, what have they figured out? What's the week ahead look like for him if he's going to be a starter in the postseason?
Yeah, that adjustment's key. He's a good pitcher. He's not God. There's going to be
Yeah.
an adjustment. And when you are coming in to face the Rays, the Royals, and the Rays down the stretch, those are major league teams. And I've been really impressed by Trey Savage. But that does not compare whatsoever to the Yankees or Red Sox with multiple days to prepare for you in a playoff game. They are going to have you game planned worse than you've ever had in your career, way more than the minor leagues. This is a different sport entirely. So we've seen this guys with Kevin Gausman a few times over the years. The Twins oddly have done this to Kevin Gausman a couple of times where they just won't swing at a splitter. And it's a day where Gausman's splitter is just down. Ball, ball, ball. He walks five guys. And after the start, he's thinking, what just happened? Trey Savage is good enough to pitch through that and pitch around it, I think, but it can happen to guys with a real specialty, a real thing that they do well. And you Savage, it's that high fastball, splitter down, kind of like Gosman. He has more weapons with his really good slider, but he is about to see what real MLB game planning looks like. And this, guys, is why I'm always slow to buy the hype on any prospect. It's because everyone can throw 100. Everyone can put up the StatCast numbers like Addison Barger and throw a ball hard, hit a ball hard, whatever. But it's that first adjustment to the rest of the league when they start taking you seriously. And in the playoffs, you're going to get taken really seriously. He's going to be challenged.
Keegan, this is kind of a two-part question I'd like you to address about their home field advantage. First of all, how important it is, but to what we were just discussing, will there be any consideration given to where Trey Savage actually has his first playoff start? Because either Boston or New York are just about the most hostile environments you could possibly pitch in.
It's going to be a big one. And their home field advantage is real. One of the best home records in baseball this year. I do think there's something to that. The Blue Jays are a team with how much they mix and match, how much John Schneider likes to play matchups and pinch hit. It benefits to have the second move, batting in the bottom half. I do think that's real to a certain extent. And also, guys, at this point of the year, these players have been going for 8 months, just sleeping in your own bed, your own hotel.
Mhm.
It's nice. It's a more regular experience, and I really do think that matters. For Trey Savage, those environments, I mean, especially in New York, that's a city where we don't see that in Toronto at Jays games. They at a Blue Jays game, they might boo a replay review, but I'm talking about getting on top of a pitcher. And I've
Yeah.
seen it happen to pitchers. I've seen it crush pitchers before because they're not just booing you, they are chanting your name. And you have to be very aware that a stadium full of 40,000 people hate you. And that's tough to deal with when you are 22 years old. It's tough to deal with if you're Max Scherzer. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, look
But
at
it's
Rory McIlroy, what New York
there
fans
we
did to
go.
him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can get in your
Yeah.
head. As much as we like to build these athletes up as impenetrable and they have this mental fortress of they're human beings. If a
Mhm.
stadium full of Yankees fans is chanting you savage," probably some other words mixed in there, you're gonna feel it. So
Mhm.
you savage far more than the average rookie pitcher, probably more than any I trust in that situation. But it's absolutely something to be considered. The home and road stuff, that's not fluff. It's real. It's very real. And environment, especially. You've got to be able to handle New York. Not everybody can.
Let's go back to the post game celebration. You said it wasn't in the clubhouse, and they kind of made a little nightclub. So, am I thinking the clubhouse staff was brilliant? Did they just put it in a hallway so they can high pressure spray and clean it instead of having their entire clubhouse ruined?
It's part of the idea. It was in the big hallway leading up to the clubhouse. And
Oh
it's the
yeah, the
same in
brilliance.
pretty much any stadium. Big, wide
Yeah,
hallways you could drive two cars through. But they had brought in some nightclub lighting and smoke machines and DJs and all this
disco
stuff.
ball.
It was, yes, I think Instagram was part of the purpose of this, I think to some extent. But at the same time, yeah, I have seen some torn up clubhouses. Guys, when I covered the ALCS last year and the Yankees beat the Guardians, in that clubhouse post game, word got around that the Guardians were about to renovate their concourse. So the clubhouse was getting torn down anyways. I saw some stuff that day, fellas. Wow. Just grown men ripping TVs off walls and throwing them through drywall. Incredible. So the Blue Jays aren't going to do that to their own clubhouse, but their own clubhouse has two things, which is carpeted floors, ugh, and then
Ew.
every inch of it is LED screens. So there would have been like a mass electrocution event, or at least it would stink like Budweiser for a month. So I honestly like probably a way better cleanup today. You just pressure wash this rubber hallway, you wheel out the club lights, bring them back to the King West place you rented them from, and you're ready to go in Tuesday for workout day.
Brilliant.
Keegan, I certainly hope you were joking when you said that Budweiser was the beer of choice in that
It
celebration
was
because
everything sponsored. There's a dollar for
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
oh, that's
Oh yeah.
well, as a person currently enshrouded in Canadiana, that disappoints my soul.
Kyle, by the way, that's not a green
It's not a
screen.
Zoom. No, it's not.
He's in front of
I
a
don't
light.
under, I have zero concept of work-life balance, and I'm all the better for it. So
So, Keegs,
it's
what's
the
your week ahead look like?
Boy, good question. Either Tuesday or Wednesday will be a workout day. Friday will be a workout day. Otherwise, I might just reintroduce myself to the couch a little bit. I rushed home last night, guys. So excited for my Green Bay Packers to be playing a night game. I've covered 162 games. This is my treat. Fridge full of Guinness. Life is good. And I stay up late to watch a field goal kicked for a tie. So, you know what? It's my bye week is off to a pretty rough emotional start, but hopefully a little more of that. The Jays will. John Schneider described it as enjoy last night and hydrate today, which I enjoyed. It's a good tip. Maybe I'll get into that. Maybe eat some vegetables this week. Tune up for the playoffs. But once the playoffs get rolling, you don't know where you're going to be the next day, what city you'll be in, what flight you'll be on. It's thankfully last night, guys, I was able to go through and cancel my hotels for the cities that we're no longer going to because it my hotel bookings were looking like a security threat, honestly. When you have hotels booked in 8 major cities for the exact same dates, it's probably really worrying. So right now I've got it down to New York and Boston for those games 3 and 4. Hopefully I'm not flagged at the border, but we'll see.
Thanks,
it
buddy.
does appear
Appreciate
as
it.
a red flag.
You got it, guys.
Wow. How about that foresight of the Jays staff to move that party into the
Yeah, it's something.
hallway? I'm like, wow, that's pretty
I am
cool.
pretty impressed that they whipped that together, and honestly, it's probably the best thing for the players because that environment probably got a little tired, a little worn out, and they probably actually wanted that party to end then had they moved it to say King Street West. You know what I'm saying? I think that was maybe pretty good planning on a lot of.
What did they used to call King West? My buddies always call it like the Devil's Basement or something.
It's got to be something like that. I don't know what kind of shape it's in now, but that whole industry is kind of tanked quite a bit. So
Yeah, COVID kind of ruined bar life. No one really, everyone just stays at home.
and or goes to cottages and drinks a very considerable amount of beer this weekend.
Yeah. So,
That's
and
my makeup.
you're celebrating your bills.
Yeah, the Bills, did we not talk with Todd on Friday about that point spread being a little bit of a trap game? I mean, they got the job done, but giving a team nearly 16 points, that's kind of crazy from a betting point of view. They got the job done, but hey, the Saints showed some fight, and I appreciate that because the last thing you want to see if you're a Bills fan is all the starters resting in the second half because they're up 35 points. That would have been nonsense.
Well, they remain undefeated while the Kansas City Chiefs, they pick up a much needed win against the Vikings. The big announcement on Sunday was that Bad Bunny will be the halftime performer. I called it 2 years ago. I thought he would have been named.
Mhm.
He is a massive global
Yeah.
artist. The problem is no one's going to know his songs. That's the one
That
issue they're going to run into because he has a lot of songs, but it's not gonna have the Rihanna type feel. It's not gonna have,
right.
the Kendrick Lamar type feel. So, it will be watched by a lot of people, just a lot of people won't know the music they're listening to.
Well, and I fall into that camp, Dan. I am well aware of the name. I am well aware of his image and his look, but I could not name you a single one of his songs. So I'm going to speculate that this will be one of those Super Bowls where, yeah, he's the marquee name, but then there's going to be a massive amount of guest appearances
Yeah.
from supporting acts that people can better relate to and just be more familiar with.
Yeah, and then I can guarantee next year's Super Bowl halftime act will be a country music act. Calling it
How could
here.
they How could they ignore that at this point? Do we know where the following Super Bowl is? Like, does that geographically make sense perhaps as well? I mean, the Super Bowl is a global show, but
I
if it
don't
was
think
in
so.
one of the
I don't even
stadiums,
know where
prob
this year's Super Bowl is.
yeah, I don't either. I genuinely don't know. I would like to see them eventually host it in Buffalo's new stadium and potentially have a Super Bowl blizzard, which would be a ton of fun. But the NFL, yeah, go ahead. San Francisco this year,
Inglewood.
Inglewood, what? Well, there
Oh, so
we
what
know
you
who's
run into, so San Francisco, they're outdoors, is the halftime act is done when there's still a bit of sunlight. Because that's
right.
what
That's
happened
correct.
when they were in LA last time and Snoop Dogg and all those guys came out. It wasn't in pitch black because there was still sun coming through the windows.
Yeah. The very, very interesting dynamic for the performers setting something like that up. Dan, other news in Toronto sports, the Leafs re-signed Anthony Stolarz to a deal that seems actually quite cap friendly to the team itself.
Yeah, this was a signing. They said it was going to happen. Maybe a bit more pressure put on it because Joseph Wall is not with the team because of a personal family matter. So I
Mhm.
don't know if that expedited things, but it definitely worked in Stolar's favor.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Pierre about this last week. I don't know that it was priority one to get this done before the season starts, but I just think in the Toronto media market, it was in their best interest to pull this off the table and just, oh, let's move forward with this new look team. All of the T's are crossed, all of the I's are dotted. We just can play some hockey now. And I'm sure the media will completely lay off us for the rest of this season.
Uh, yeah, exactly. I did see Z Money passed on that my good friend Connor Ingram, his name was floating around on the
Mm.
Toronto Maple Leafs message boards as a potential pickup, as he's also been floated around the Edmonton Oilers camp. So Connor Ingram, goalie with the Utah Mammoth. He's still looking for a team as he was put on waivers, but there is a goalie out there. They're just waiting for the first goalie to fall.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in Edmonton because, as far as I'm concerned, that job is always available. Anyone can step in and potentially take it. Because let's be realistic, there's a little piece of that puzzle missing, and that'd be a good spot for him to rebuild things, right? I'd like to see that, and then we'll have him on the show to discuss wherever he lands.
Yeah, exactly. He'd love to come on.
Love
Kyle, we're gonna let you get back to your cottage life. I'm
yes,
gonna
you
get
will.
back to home life as I go pick out some paint to put on a wall.
All right. Well, I'm going to go pick out a beer to put in my stomach.
See you back here Wednesday, buddy.
You will.